My name's Troy. I'm with Iowa State University Natural Resources Department and Research Farms. I've been working with Billy on a saturated buffer with the establishment of the seedlings and the care of them. So this site was crop field. So we had no weeds, we had no vegetation on the site when we began the project to plant. So we didn't have to do any burn down or anything like that. We marked out, we had the tile work done, we marked our rows, and we came in with a bare root planter and we planted all of our seedlings in the rows. We followed that up that same spring with an application of herbicide, which included glyphosate to burn down anything that may have greened up, as well as pre-emergent to keep any of our weeds from coming back. You'll notice there are some tall grasses and weeds in the rows. We've chosen to leave those because they cast shade on the young seedlings through July and August, which is actually a benefit to the seedling. It increases survival rate. You'll also notice that we mow between the rows. The reason we mow between the rows is when you put a 1.5 foot seedling in the ground, they can get lost in the grass. So you want to keep it mowed so that you can maintain visual sight of those seedlings while you're on a tractor. So we'll let it grow maybe 1 foot tall, 1.5 foot, depending on how tall the seedlings are. And then we'll come in and mow our rows. As the seedlings mature and gain some height, we might elongate when we mow until we're at the point where we might only mow maybe 2 or 3 times a summer, just to keep weeds and other stuff that we don't, other volunteer trees out of the rows. Every year, every fall, I spray glyphosate on the rows to burn down anything in the row. That's done after the trees drop their leaves in the fall. And then every spring, after we replant any seedlings that need to be replaced, I spray glyphosate and pre-emergent, again, to burn down anything that's greened up in the spring and to try and keep the weeds out. The pre-emergent, again, lasts until kind of July, August, at which case we let the weeds grow because they actually provide us a benefit. So when you're preparing the site to plant your seedlings the first year, one of the main things you want to deal with is any existing weeds and vegetation on the site. It's really hard to control the weeds between the trees in the row, right? You're down to a weed eater to do that for the most part. The best thing you can do is to do a burn down spray of glyphosate or a non-selective foliar herbicide. And quite frankly, you want to kill all the vegetation on that site to facilitate the direct seed or the bare root planter to come through so that you get good soil contact when you're planting the trees and to minimize weed pressure the first few years while you cannot spray during the growing season. So with the direct seeding, the biggest issue we're going to have is maintenance. Because the trees are no longer in rows and they're scattered across our plot, it makes it really hard to mow. We're going to have to come and mow over the top if we're going to mow, which is why you'll see the tall grass here. But you can only do that for a couple of years till the seedlings get too high and you can't get your mower high enough off the ground. So when we establish this, ideally a season or a season and a half before you're going to plant, you want to come in and you want to start spraying this with Roundup. I don't want any weeds in here. We're going to work the soil up, and then we're going to use our direct nut seeder to seed the plants in, which helps mix the seed into the soil. After that period of time, I can spray Roundup over top of these once the leaves drop in the fall. I can spray Roundup before the leaves emerge in the spring. I do not want to use any pre-emergence because the pre-emergence will inhibit the acorns from germinating, and that goes for 2 seasons. So these are first year seedlings. Next spring, I will not use pre-emergent because there are likely still acorns on the site that have not germinated, and we'll probably see 10 to 15% more seedlings next spring emerge. After that second season, I can start using pre-emergent on the site to keep some of the weed pressure at bay. That also tends to be about the time when I can no longer mow because I can't get my mowing deck high enough to stay out of the seedlings.